I think that doesn't only go for the Assassin's Creed Black Flag game, but for the whole series. I think that's especially with the very volatile subject matter that they tackled for the first game. You know, the Crusades, Islamism. That's sort of, and of course you always, whenever you start the game, you see this sort of first message. This team was created by I forgot now. It's like a team consisting of multiple nationalities and religions to indicate that it is a multivocal development process. Right?
Yeah.
Can you adjust the sound again?
Sure.
Again? Yeah.
But that's just a lawsuit thing, I guess.
You think?
You see? Oh, that's cynical.
Yeah, but that's well, that's A, who I am, I guess. But B, I think it's I'm actually quite well. I actually want to know how many lawsuits game companies like Ubisoft or other big companies are getting because of these issues. I think it's much bigger than
many,
we are.
I think.
Who would sue
Than
them?
we know.
So interesting fact. So one of the lead historian, the only historian that they actually had for a large percentage of the development of Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag, his role as a historian at the company was not so much to kind of like try to help the writers or to write the history. It was to get legal permits to use the historical representations of the places. So his job was to go around and actually talk to the custodians of these places in the world now
Right.
and get permission to use them because of that exact issue, that there is issues of representation both of places that exist now and places as imagining them in the past.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
I think also what you said about subjectivity is really interesting, because within both history and archaeology and museums and so on, it's becoming more and more important to showcase that, for instance, a museum exhibition is not necessarily like a sort of string of facts, but it is created by curators who make decisions, who choose to highlight certain things or downplay other things, who, you know, make all kinds of conscious decisions about design, object selection, everything. And this is something that's been happening in archaeology as well, where we start discussing much more that, look, archaeologists are not just uncovering some objective truth, but, you know, we're making interpretations, which might be wrong, which might be based on our own perspectives of the past as well. So we're uncovering that subjectivity more and more often in say museums or papers or textbooks and so on. So it's interesting that they're now doing this in the game world as well when they're talking about history.
It basically independently of goings on in archaeology and history. Maybe it's a one linked process in a very sort of high scale view of how science and society are intertwined and progress. But I sort of wonder where it even came from in the beginning to make this very conscious decision to tackle historical themes and periods and places, but do this in a very mostly conscious and authentic, aiming at least for authenticity, for a level of authenticity manner. Because of course you could have done lots of different things, lots of different styles that you could have done with this game. You could have put in the zombies in Haiti and things like that, and that happens in so many games. So why did they decide with this game series to take this particular angle?
Well, I think it's interesting the way that Assassin's Creed is really associated with history. So with our Value project, we did a little survey within Leiden University's Faculty of Archaeology where we work. So we did a questionnaire with a bunch of students but also with staff, and one of the questions was to name 3 games that were historical, and we left this super broad so that people could associate whatever they wanted with this question. And the number one response was the Assassin's Creed series.
Sure.
Because everyone feels like this is historical, and what they learned from this game or these games is historical. I mean, there's so many memes out there that say, "Oh, everything I learned in history class is from Assassin's Creed," or "Thank God I played through Venice and Florence, else I wouldn't have passed my exams." And I think it's a very interesting thing that even within our faculty, among archaeologists, everyone associates this series with history the most.
Yeah.
And second in line was the Total War series.
Total War series, yeah, which another sort of game series that has as an aim to at least stick to a measure of authenticity, accuracy.
And Age of Empires.
But it's kind of interesting to come back to the idea of subjectivity, so that everybody has its own authentic experience of what's going on. So I'm guessing that the stream's already seeing what I'm wondering about in Notre Dame.
So just for clarity, we've switched to Unity, so we're no longer in the Caribbean.
As you can see, there's not a cathedral of this size anywhere to be found in the Caribbean. Of course, hardly anywhere in the world. This is the Notre Dame. It's really one of the best spots in this game for me. I really like it how they've done it.
So what do you like about this?
It's
the authenticity.
Yes. Yeah, that's really what of course, it's not completely authentic in terms of. I think maybe the scale may be actually. Not completely sure, but of course, what's going on, not. This would be like a flash shot from what was going on in Notre Dame at this time. It wasn't so all the time this game is playing. This is going on in Notre Dame, but of course that's not the case during all of the revolution.
So, how come it's empty?
It's not empty.
He killed them all.
Like, where are all the benches and things?
Ah, right. That's if I remember correctly, they were not there during that time because their people were standing during mass. I'm not a church historian.
Can we go down into the?
Sure, of course.
Oh.
Oops. Well, going down in Assassin's Creed always is kind of hard. Up, not a problem.
Whoops! I
Can't
accidentally
you,
climbed.
free run down now?
In the new game, I think you can. Or could
Yeah,
you? Only in this one as well.
free
Yeah,
run
true.
down.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I think you can sort of do that.
Pretty
Or
cool.
I just drop, please. There we go.
Ouch!
Don't worry, I can take it.
Oh, it's like
Yeah,
it looks like it's under siege.
It's not on a siege, of course. It's part of the revolution, so it's a revolutionary headquarters with people that are preaching revolution instead of the word of
But
Christ.
see, this is why all the chairs are piled up.
True, but also I think there shouldn't actually be any chairs.
Well, for the elite who sit in the front,
Sure, but
need
they
a
would be
chair.
sitting in, of course, in the side
In
choirs.
the
I think.
pews.
Anywho, really lovely space. But I think what this does, it really contrasts itself to what's going on in the Caribbean. Because this is once again like Assassin's Creed that takes place in a city. And of course one of the most iconic cities in the world. At least that's what the French like to say anyway. I think the rest of the world agrees. And it's just so different in scope. Just think of the ramshackle buildings, even in Kingston. Right, which was one of the neater cities in the Caribbean, and then they sort of contrasted with this. It's very, in terms of the authenticity and the effort that they put into recreating this world as it was around this time. I think a lot more effort went, game development time.
Oh,
went
there's
into
a
this.
lot more people.
Then that
What
too,
do you
of
think
course,
is
as
the
well.
reason behind it, Angus?
Well, I think that it really has to do with the imagery of Paris. Everybody knows the Notre Dame. Not very many people do know the stairs in Nassau. Very few, less people know about the pre-colonial history and indigenous people of the Caribbean. So I think they just care less because, in general, people care less. That's my interpretation anyway. But,
A large part of it was to do with the engine as well. So, or the focus of what they're doing with the engine. So they completely overhauled it for Unity. the previous games, which were not completely city-based, so like Black Flag, for instance, a large kind of focus was on traversal, or like how you move between places rather than on the places themselves.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, the kind of like accuracy was in
Ooh,
how
sexy.
you move and what you're doing, rather than what's the built structures are. Whereas here, there's a strong focus on built structures.
This is
and also,
a bit back towards Venice and
But you
the other
notice
places.
how the people who you encounter in the street, like if you're not tackling them, they have much more sort of personality and character.
Yeah.
Like there was this guy who was clearly drunk in public, like over there,
And this guy
Sorry.
stealing a
and
crucifix.
this guy stealing the crucifix.
He's looting. Naughty.
Kill him.
Like they all seem to have much
No.
more character than the people who were walking around Kingston.
yeah.
Angus,
Yeah.
you're a sissy assassinator.
Alright, let's see if I can find this guy. I won't have you call my honor in question. No, I'm sorry, he already escaped. Oh, he's over there. Alright.
Who?
That belongs in the museum. Well, I can't kill him, sorry.
You can't
can't?
kill him.
No.
Oh.
Why with the sword, man? Hidden
It's-
blade.
That's the wrong person.
I know. But he's actually a bad guy. But he
Well-
dropped the crucifix, so I saved some artifacts.
Can you?
No,
They're
I
being
cannot
run
pick
over
it
by
up.
It
the
just
people
got
now.
trampled.
Yeah.
And now you're getting sniped.
I'm getting sniped all the time in this game.
Wow, there was a box flying through the air.
You know what? I'm actually going to try and do a mission.
Okay.
While you keep
Looks-
on
It looks
talking
like
about
I
the
was
it's
a
world.
running,
prostitute on
it's
the
running
corner,
good
by the way.
now. The frame rate and the bugginess is.
What can I say? I just got a great PS4.
Compared to
No, I
Black
honestly-
Flag?
Compared to
I
the
don't know.
launch.
Compared to Black Flag or what?
No, I mean
compared to
when
the
this game
launch
first
of
out,
Unity.
it was a bit of there were a bit of some hiccups with it, actually famous hiccups. But now they patched a lot of that.
Oh, look, grapes. Vines.
Nice, very
Are
nice
they?
little touch, little urban garden. Ah, La Seine. What? I
How-
always want to do this when I'm in France,
How
Paris.
disgusting is this water when it's used as an open sewer?
I don't know. It's kind of fresh. It feels like the Caribbean in many ways. Alright. Oh, wait. There's a mission. Yay. Give me my mission.
So another point regarding kind of accuracy or accuracy and authenticity in Assassin's Creed games, specifically in Unity, is the representation of women. And there was like a huge kind of issue, a huge furore, one could say, over how they chose to go about it in Unity. Which they said, oh, but all the historical accounts show that like the women are either like, you know, housewives or prostitutes. And well, first of all, one of the most famous of the French assassins during the Revolution was a woman, which is problematic. But then secondly, it's because the accounts which they looked at were all written by guys who were focusing on very specific things. So there's a disjuncture between like the accuracy, like they're being accurate to the accounts which they looked at and point towards, but that's not necessarily accurate to the reality.
whole body of work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
historical works out there.
Leading, of course, up to the famous quote that it was too hard to model female protagonists, I think.
Yeah.
And now, of course, they
Oh.
saw the right away, and they now actually added a female protagonist for the next game, right?
Yeah.
Isn't she like a
Syndicate, you mean?
twin or
Well, what do you mean? That's still a female protagonist.
copy paste?
But there was already copy paste, copy paste. Add boobs, long hair. We're done. That's it.
Oh, it's too difficult to model. Well, we'll just copy paste and make some slight alterations.
All right.
Well, I wonder if there's a difference in, for instance, if you do this game in this Parisian setting, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to be more accurate, or is it expected to be more accurate, or are you getting into more problems if it's less accurate than with the Caribbean? Like, do people care less about the Caribbean?
No, so okay, I can launch into a sort of what people think about the Caribbean rant, but I will try to keep it less ranty and more what I think is going on.
Okay.
The Caribbean, in many ways, is a sort of a space of imagination for people that people don't get to travel up to very often. They don't get to read about very often.
Yeah.
When they go there, they're gonna go to this luxury resort very often, or a cruise ship travel tour.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in school has heard about the French Revolution, knows about Montesquieu, well, anyway, doesn't know about the big actors, and knows about the beheadings,
The
knows about the...
guillotine.
Many people have been to Paris. It's one of those, you have to see Paris before you die, kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, of course, the audience that these people are addressing, North Americans, Europeans. So I think you're far more restricted, because lots of people have a clear idea of what is authentic, what should be an authentic experience in this time, in Paris, in this location. So that's what I think is going on. While in the Caribbean, it's a free-for-all, because pirates...
Because it's more of an imaginative space?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Is Versailles in this game?
Yeah. It's actually, I think, where you start out, if I remember correctly. I think we can still go there even.
I've never been there actually, because I've been to Paris a few times and the lines were always too long.
In Versailles?
That's also pretty good.
Oh.
There were too many people.
Well, we could go to Versailles. I mean, I don't really have to... Wait. Oh, this is the cover mechanic that I...
Halfway
guys.
theater income. Yeah?
I have to leave in a couple of minutes.
Alright, man, you have fun at your hippie party.
Yep.
Any final remarks, Ken?
No, just carry on with it. I think it's very nice to do a back-to-back of these two games and see what actually evolved after a couple of years. And I'm very much looking forward to Syndicate and know how they handle the issues
How do you
there.
think Syndicate will be different with regards to authenticity?
I'm not sure. I think it should be very comparable with Unity. Like for the
Unity
city.
a pure PS4? Or was it PS3
That's the thing.
ported?
So Unity is the first next-gen
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
You notice the difference,
Yeah.
I have to say,
Yeah.
because everything is more. I don't know. There seems to be more content altogether, just because there's more space.
It's very clear in terms of the crowds, of course. So many more crowds. Yeah, as Tara
What's
said, the
there on
engine
the
was
wall?
completely overhauled.
Go down.
What's the mood? What do you want
I
to...
want to see the graffiti on the wall.
Okay.
The writings on the wall.
Is there a
Going down is
gunpowder plot as well in Paris?
See
The
that?
that's London, right?
Yeah,
That's
I thought it
London,
was
weird.
London.
And this is actually a famous, what do you call it? Spotprint in Dutch.
Spotprint,
I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah, what do you call it in English? Like a political commentary in cartoon form
Yeah.
of the bourgeoisie, of course, filling itself, the fat nobles.
They could have not done this, you know.
Sure.
It's nice to see developers paying that amount of attention to detail.
And I guess that also
There's
it's...
another one.
Another one.
Oh, it's the
Well, you want to go graffiti shopping?
Yeah, it's the same
It's
one.
That's
the
the same
same
one.
It's some guy's tag.
So there's kind of an interesting issue with putting graffiti into games, where a lot of the textures are taken. So they quite often the process, like, you'll go to the places and you'll take photos of all the textures, and often there's a lot of ancient graffiti there, and you can get into a lot of legal trouble from including ancient or modern graffiti into your game, because it's still the intellectual property of someone, whether that person is long dead or still
Really?
around. Yeah.
Seriously?
So they employ, or quite often a lot of the AAAs will employ someone whose job it is to go through and basically erase all the graffiti to erase
wow,
that
yeah.
issue. Yeah.
Graffiti eraser.
You know, if you do it in a game, it's maybe as boring as if you do it in real life. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but at least if you do it in a game, you can say, "Oh, I'm a game developer."
Yeah, that's true.
That sounds
That's
pretty
true.
cool.
Maybe a nice startup job for an intern.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a
The
cool
more
little
we
fact.
talk about this authenticity stuff, the more I think that their legal departments must be massive of these game companies, huh? If they have to like do all this work into making sure that, you know, all the copyright issues and getting permission to use.
Music as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, music shouldn't be maybe that hard.
I don't know.
The skirts, though, like they move as if they're made of cardboard.
It's not too bad.
Really? Look at this.
But there were these.
It's not
big
that
hoops
like they
under
had
them,
like
right?
silky soft fabric and everything that everyone could afford that.
This is the French Revolution. No fabric softener.
Yeah. There's
Oh,
no.
I'm sorry.
There's no
Look, the
Lenore.
men aren't wearing cardboard. Oh, he is though with the cape.
Yeah. If they ever even laundry their clothes.
All right, we're now in Versailles. Actually,
Is this an island?
it is an island in the map. It's of course not. Versailles is not an island in real life.
No.
But you can't go outside the city walls, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the I don't know their city walls, but they're
So do
definitely
women
boundaries.
in this game that walk around have chaperones?
Do they?
I don't know. Don't they?
One of the most interesting things to do is to follow. Well, I think it's one of the most interesting. A lot of people would probably disagree, but I think it's really interesting to follow NPCs around and to try to figure out what the system behind where they're going and what they're doing is.
What they're doing?
So,
Like you did with GTA?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
look, they
So we can.
kissed in public
like-
on the street.
They're meeting each
It's
other.
a peck on the cheek.
No, the other couple.
Oh.
Them two.
Oh, those they're in love.
Look at them.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I really like from the first Assassin's Creed onwards. This sort of stuff is
Like they take
Just
like 10 steps and then they
being
gaze
a
at each other
historical
adorably.
tourist and a bit of a voyeur too.
I think
Yeah.
you're on the street level way too much. I barely ever touched the streets when I played Assassins.
Oh, I agree.
Kill the criminal.
Oh no.
Too late.
Oh, there you go. Hidden blade finally.
Was that with your hidden blade, the first one?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, crowd
I would
event
say so.
completed.
Loot.
I never skipped one of those. I always saved the citizens. Although you were a little late in this one.
Well, he probably make it to the hospital.
Yeah. It's just this.
I'm trying to find the actual Versailles for Scylla. Let me
It is
see.
but a scratch.
All right, guys, I'm off.
All right, fine.
Good
Thanks.
night.
Have fun.
Enjoy
fun.
the hippie
Thank you.
party.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
No.
Especially for Vincent, some rooftop action.
Yes, thank you. Of course.
Can you walk across?
Of course.
you can.
Of course you can.
You can walk on anything. Anything.
You can even walk inside.
Is the Altair outfit present in all the games?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. Because that's still
Well, all the
most
games,
badass
all the
one.
games with this style. Of course, there's lots and lots and lots of Assassin's Creed games.
What's this beacon?
Is that a feather? Oh no, feathers are.
I don't know what the
One of the other
I
ones.
can buy this house, but I don't think I'm able to afford it yet. So we're now in Versailles, but where is the actual Versailles? Maybe the palace you cannot really easily go in there because it's only during certain scenes, especially in the beginning of the game.
I guess it's not for the common populace.
Well, if you go up
Despite the
real
weather.
high in that church tower across the street, you'll
Sure.
find it. That's how I usually looked for buildings.
So what about the accuracy or the authenticity of the rooftops of the game?
I don't know. Have you ever walked on the rooftops in Paris?
Who
No,
hasn't?
A few hundred years ago?
but I mean, I guess there should be certain aspects which are completely not real just because you need to parkour around the roofs.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes, I've been
those-
wondering about that as well. If I would, for example, visit Firenze or other places, how those buildings would, you know.
That's what I actually
Look like-
liked about Assassin's Creed 2, and well, that sort of whole arc, especially Assassin's Creed 2, where you go to the different cities. There's Florence. The rooftops there, they are very typical for Florence. They're really Florence rooftops, and these long rows. And where in Venice, you have to much more sort of go down to street level again, cross a canal, go up another building.
It's true. That's true.
Well, one thing I noticed
I think
is
that would be the palace.
Yeah.
To be fair,
that they have a lot of chimneys, which was also
Yeah.
I
very
think the leap
typical
of
in
faith is
England,
here.
right?
Yeah, this is it. Okay.
I remember that they first showed off the leap of faith in E3.
Mhm.
The crowd was going wild, like, should I jump off this tower? And they were like, yeah, jump off! They wanted to see blood, of course. And then, you know, he ended up just so elegantly jumping into it. It's
You
still
mean
one of
with
the favorite
first
things.
Assassin's Creed
Yeah, with the
thing?
first Assassin's
When the
Creed.
concept was new, of course.
Yeah, well, I still like to do it whenever I have the chance.
Oh yeah.
There were haystacks
too.
in the Caribbean as well.
Yeah.
You have them in every.
That's one of the
game.
things in the Caribbean. You jump off a lot of cliffs, but not off a lot of buildings that are very, very
You
high.
can hide from the soldiers in those
Yep.
haystacks, and what they'll do is, if you're close enough, then they'll see you getting in there, so it's no use. And if they're, for
Yeah, but
example, around the corner, then you can hide in, and then they won't see you, but they might approach the haystack and start stabbing it, looking for you.
Mhm.
And even if they come looking for you and they get close enough, you can stab them and drag them in the haystack, immediately hiding them. I think that's a really nice mechanic.
What were you going to say, Aaron? Nothing?
Hmm?
I thought Alice was going to say something.
Yeah, I was just wondering how you can just jump off a rooftop and pretty much nobody cares around you.
Yeah.
They sometimes do. Sometimes if you start climbing, they're like, huh, what is he doing? And stuff like that. And then the soldiers will get, their attention will be drawn to it. I think you were going off map
Yeah.
there.
Sorry
So you
about
can't
that,
go
Silla.
to the palace.
You can actually go there, but not in the free roam map, I
Okay.
think.
Well, if you climb up the rooftop here, you
Oh,
you
look at
would get
them.
a
So
good enough
beautiful.
view of the
Yeah, but she's
palace.
still not getting in, poor Silla.
That's okay.
No, well,
It's
not in,
difficult.
but you can properly see it, I guess.
Oh, I've seen it from the outside before. That was the
It's beautifully made, man.
Yeah, and actually,
Oh,
I
look,
think
there's
that
a windmill to the right there.
we're just being little tourists here. I like it. Oh, I haven't even done the mission yet.
No,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
we
know
were on
about
a
these
mission.
rooftops.
Yeah.
Because there are like a million chimneys, which was very common in England as in any case. I'm not sure about France, but probably there as well. Because every room had a different
Outlet.
hearth.
Let's see if we can get back to Paris.
What's the mission?
Sorry?
What is the mission icon here? The P?
That's actually Paris. So the
Okay.
fast travel
Alright.
option for Paris.
Oh, the mission was in.
Mm. Yeah.
So we just had a great comment on Twitch rather, which was George Pro saying that he finds it fascinating the way that some games designers incorporate details that many players might never get to explore. Kind of referring, I guess, like a lot of the environmental storytelling. And that's another kind of interesting point with regards to like accuracy and authenticity, that it's quite easy for us to look at stuff like built structures, big things, and know like how that might have looked in the past. But it's very different for us to get, or very difficult for archaeologists or historians to get to like the minutiae of every day of like how would something have looked at 7 a.m. in the morning when the family's getting up to go do stuff.
Yeah.
but yet that's part of the experience of a game, that you have to like actively place those things and actively think about why they're going there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's of course where we sort of really copy our day-to-day lives into what you think was going on in one of those cities.
Yeah.
What I think is also very interesting in terms of daily rhythm, you were talking about 7 a.m. in the morning. Not so much here, but in the Middle Ages, it was very usual for people to get up at 1 or 2 in the morning, you visit a couple of your neighbors in your nightgown, and just go back to bed at 3 and sleep a little bit more. And you never see that in games, because it's a very little known fact, actually.
I never knew that.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like there's kind of a lot of people loitering around doing nothing.
It's the revolution, baby.
So no one has a job?
Well,
Except for this guy picking up the hay with his pitchfork?
I think they were what do you call it? Revolting because they didn't have jobs. Oh no, it was about something else.
Was
Okay.
it? Yeah.
Or maybe the invading force took their jobs.
Thank you
it's
for
a
another South Park
revolution.
reference.
It's a revolution from within.
Durr.
Yes.